6 years ago, I did an internship in Bangkok, and that completely changed my life. And this is actually why I'm going to explain it to you today in this video. So when I was 19 years old, I was able to do an internship for a shipping company in Bangkok. The company is called OOCL. And the reason I was actually able to get into this internship was because the year before I worked for the same company, but then back home in the Netherlands. And via one of my friends, via one of my connections, he got me into that company. So I was supposed to start at the import division of that company, but the contact who got me in the company, he was part of sales, and he eventually convinced the director to get me into that sales department. So I was like a 17-year-old guy doing an internship at a sales department in a pretty big company. So that was already when a lot of things changed for me. And then since I was actually doing a pretty good job there, they asked me if I was able to do like my next internship, which was supposed to be the next year, at the same office in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam. And I told them like, okay, I want to stay in the same company, but it will be amazing if you can give me the opportunity to work for your company in another country, because I want to develop myself and I want to get to know other countries. So they asked me, okay, which country you want to go? And I told them I want to go to Bangkok. And I chose for Bangkok back then because one of my brothers was actually living here. He still lives here. And Thailand was not a new country to me because I've been coming here since I'm like 7, 8 years old. But always been for holidays, never like for really living. So eventually he got me the contact from the HR department in Bangkok. I got in touch with them. I had an interview, and then eventually they ended up hiring me. So that was the first moment that I actually moved abroad on my own. Even though my brother lived there, of course, I was still on my own, had my own apartment, I lived in my own area. I worked alone in the office. There were only Thai people there. I could only speak English, and my English was pretty poor back then, but I still did it. And from the moment I started to live in Bangkok on my own, my life completely basically changed. And why is because what I already said, I've been coming to Thailand for holidays all the time, but there's a difference between going somewhere for a holiday and actually really living somewhere. So you really start to get to know the culture. You start to have like a lot of self-talks. You talk a lot with yourself because you're completely alone in a different country. No one speaks your language. You need to talk English, so you feel pretty alone. But that's actually very good, and that's actually the real moment that you start to grow. You will mature. You will feel like way more responsibility towards yourself. And I also recognized then that I actually felt already kind of freedom. And this was for me the real moment. I thought like, yeah, I want to do this more, I want to explore more, and I really want to move abroad. I really want to live in another country, because from the moment you live somewhere else, you actually start to realize like, hey, there's actually so much more than just that circle I'm living in back home. And that changed my complete vision, basically, from a guy who was 19 years old. And after that internship, I told myself one thing: I'm gonna find a way that I'm going to be able to make money in another country for another company, wherever it's gonna be. I wanted to work back then for a company at the sales department somewhere in Asia. That was always the goal. So I went back with that goal, started to work hard for that, and then eventually e-commerce came in place. And instead of keep focusing and working for companies, I started to get into e-commerce, and that actually went very, very fast. I started to earn serious money, and from there I was already able to move abroad myself without needing a company. But this entire vision started all with having that vision from a 19-year-old boy, taking the risk to go to another country, going for that internship, and yeah, just actually finding out a lot of things which you wouldn't ever find out if I never made that decision. So this little decision actually brought me to the place, is one of the reasons that it brought me to the place where I am today. The last thing I want to say about that is that when I made that decision to do the internship here abroad, everyone in my class, like all the other students, they told me like, bro, why are you going to Bangkok? Why do you think that's going to be like good for you, or that's going to have like additional value into your life? Why not staying here in the Netherlands working for a company, so the year after you could just like work for that company instead of just taking a risk going to Bangkok? You're coming back, you never know if you will get a job, etc. And I told them like, yo guys, listen, I'm going here to Bangkok, I'm gonna explore a complete new world, I'm gonna explore a lot of different things, and once again that brought me to the place where I am today. So if you're watching this, if you're young, if you're still in school, if you have the ability to travel, or if you have the ability to work for a company abroad, do an internship, do it. Like really, really, please do it. And Of course, traveling is also nice, but if you travel, I would highly recommend you to stay at a specific place for a very long time, so you get to know the people more, you get yourself to know better. Because when you're traveling, you're always like surrounded by other travelers. If you live in a specific country, you're going to be surrounded by foreigners who are also living in this country, and they all have a different mindset, especially here in Bangkok. So I wanted to give you guys those lessons. If you have the chance, take that chance. See you guys in the next video. Ciao.